Is there a commercial real estate collapse coming? There's a lot of headlines out in the media right now, and it's a big topic with interest rates and office buildings and rents declining in multifamily. Well, I'm just going to touch on office right now because really that's where I see the biggest risk. That's where I see values decreasing the most, the highest vacancy, banks not wanting to lend on office, and I think there's some real reckoning coming pretty soon here in office. And I have a couple stories to share with you just to give you a boots on the ground kind of idea of what's going on out there in office. So I have a client who owns probably about 50 properties, most of those multi-tenant, mostly industrial, but some office and retail. Well, this owner had an office park that started to go vacant. There's about 8 tenants in it. So I took it out to market. I sold it for $70 a foot. This owner, he's a big believer in small, medium bay, Class B industrial, multi-tenant properties. And so he traded into a small to medium bay, Class B industrial business park for $82 a foot. So from $70 a foot in office, he's paying more for warehouses than he is getting from a buyer on his office properties. That's my first story. My second story is about a year and a half ago, I saw an office building trade for $58 a foot. It blew my mind. That property would have traded for probably $150 a foot back in 2019, before COVID hit, before this work from home trend started. And I thought that was the new low. Fast forward, 6 months from there, another office property traded for $50 a foot. And these are actually kind of decent quality office properties. I don't think they're obsolete. I don't think they need too much. Fast forward 6 months from there, another property traded for $40 a foot. And I think that asset was better quality than the other two that traded for $58 a foot and $50 a foot. So the market just keeps setting a new low each few months here as another office property trades. And then about a month or two ago, another office property traded for $28 a foot. If that trend keeps going, some of these properties could be trading for $10 a foot. It's just crazy. To put that in perspective, I'm selling industrial buildings for, $120, $150 a foot, just an open warehouse. An open rectangle is trading for significantly more than even an improved office building. And I would say the bulk of this problem within office is people just aren't coming back to the office. Despite the headlines, we're not seeing it happen. There's still a lot of remote work, work from home, and then I would say the most popular trend is hybrid work, office workers going into the office maybe 2 or 3 days a week, but the rest of the time they're working from home. And then we get to this point of, we've got rents in multifamily that are pretty high. Home value is pretty high, so does it make sense to take an office building, convert it to multifamily, or convert it to condos? Some developers have tried that. It's turned out to be very expensive. Oftentimes, in the case where even if you were to give that developer the property for free, they couldn't make it pencil out. It makes more sense to just completely tear down that office property and rebuild multifamily. It's just too cost prohibitive. The cost of construction right now, mainly wages, are just way too high to justify that type of redevelopment type of project. It just has to do with the utilities and the floor plates and how those office buildings stand today. They're just too expensive to convert to a functional floor plan for an apartment complex. Another aspect of this, which I feel like most people aren't even paying attention to, is how much stress is on the real estate industry. And what I mean by that is lenders, title companies, even real estate attorneys, and then real estate agents. So that as transaction volumes have decreased substantially, both in residential and commercial, there's less work for agents, there's less work for attorneys. Lending is really brutal right now, not only on the residential side, but on the commercial side. And how much of office space is occupied by lenders, attorneys, title companies, real estate agents. It's a pretty significant amount. Another aspect of the office market, a big red flag, is that how many of these leases, which say on average, a lease term is 5 years, how many were signed when the economy was strong, say 2021, and then that lease expiration is up in 2026. How many spaces are going to go vacant? And if demand is already, probably at an all-time low for office, you're just having more vacancy come up as lease terms expire over time. I mean, how many corporations signed 10-year leases in, say 2019 before the whole work from home thing happened? And, in 2029, how many big office footprints are just going to come up for, that are going to come vacant? And how much demand is there? Will there be at that point? Tough to say. Another aspect of potential distress in office is that banks are being very conservative. They don't have as much money to lend out. A lot of their deposits have outflowed into money markets accounts or bonds, and they don't want to loan on office. They would much rather loan on, say, industrial or even retail at this point. They just perceive office as a very risky asset. So there's less money to lend on it. Investors, they're on the sidelines. They don't want to invest on it. So if you own one of these buildings, basically, it's going to be really tough to sell it, and you may have to sell it for a pretty low price. So, with all these factors combined, work from home, COVID, hybrid work, the cost of construction just, makes converting these buildings to other types of uses, it's too expensive. And, how many of these tenants in these office buildings are related to real estate? They're probably not renewing their leases, maybe even they're downsizing. All these factors are creating a really shaky world for office, and could impact commercial real estate as a whole.